Welcome back to the Shoot Podcast, the only NBA podcast hosted by me. And of course, week one of the NBA is here, and every team has officially played their first game. So we're going to go over some of the weirdness that happened during week one. And of course, now we're going to be joined by a guest to go over our week one awards. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's go. Alright, with the first games of the NBA season over with, every team having played at least once, Warriors and Thunder playing twice, of course. I've got some observations, some weirdness, some week one weird, if you will, that just stood out to me as more than a little interesting and maybe a little unexpected this early in the season. So the first guy that I wrote down here is Walker Kessler, who, if you have watched him in the past, you would know that he started out not shooting threes, and then last year he didn't shoot threes, and then close to the end of the year he had like a 2 week period where he shot a lot of threes and missed a lot of threes. It netted out to only 0.6 a game last year, but most of those came within like a 1 to 2 week period where he shot like 8, 7, 5, and then 6 or something threes in straight games, and he didn't shoot well on them. But we see this year he comes in shooting threes. He made 2 for 2 this year. So far, he is leading the league in three-point percentage. He's also leading the league in field goal percentage and effective field goal percentage because he decided not to miss a single shot. Now, he only took 7. He did miss 2 free throws, but he did 8 free throws. He tallied 22 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. I mean, he wasn't... If you had told me that was a Wemby stat line, I would have believed you. 2 threes, just a very strange scenario for him. And the reason that this is weird to me is not so much that I never expected him to shoot, because he's one of the many big men that come into the league and they're like, he's good, but he's got some range he could extend if he ever gets that jump shot. He's gonna be an important player in this league. He's gonna be dangerous. And like most of those guys, it hadn't materialized in the first 3 years. In a lot of cases, it never materializes, and you end up having a guy that you want to be able to shoot threes, but isn't actually that good at it. And I think part of this development is his contract. He's in a career year, a contract year, and the Jazz have made it very clear that they have not committed either way on him, wanting a lot for him in a trade, but not extending him either. And it's not too surprising. I mean, last year he was good. Obviously, he gets a lot of rebounds, and he's an efficient big. But you wonder, with a big man like him, what is your team's offense looking like? And I think a lot of those answers are simplified. If he's going to be able to shoot threes at any significant rate, even if he's only making 1 a game at 34%, at least you have to look at him whenever he's out there, which gives obviously every one of your guards that are so young and inexperienced more room to go and create opportunities for themselves and their teammates with a less packed paint, which is one of the negatives of having a big that doesn't shoot. So if Walker Kessler is going to be able to shoot even at a 35% clip, it makes their whole team make a lot more sense, and it makes extending him a lot more difficult, because we've seen what players have been getting for extensions. You would have to assume that even based off of last year, averaging 11 and 12 and being a good defender and shooting an efficient inside scorer, you have to assume he's getting at least 20 million. 12-12, good defense, solid finisher. I feel like that would be the going rate. But then if he's adding his 3-point game in and maybe upping that scoring a little bit, then it gets a lot more difficult. And you're like, is he worth 28? Is he worth more than like a Dyson Daniels? It remains to be seen. Just a very surprising game in general, with the Jazz taking down the Clippers seemingly effortlessly. They won by 21, and it looked worse than that. Nobody on the Clippers could do anything, except for briefly Derrick Jones Jr. was really good. And I forgot to mention this, Walker Kessler wasn't playing against some bad center. He's playing against Zubac, who was nearly all defensive, and he was all defensive. He was all defensive, and he was nearly all NBA. So he's not going up against some scrub, and he still put up a game like that. Obviously, there is questions about the Clippers going forward, but that's not what this is about. And I also thought very strange that Mikhailuk got a starting role. He made his shots, so you never know what they're going to look like going forward. But realistically, the main problem with this Jazz team is defense, and even with Walker Kessler being a really good defender and rebounder, gets blocks and steals apparently, they're still going to have trouble defensively. And you got to hope that Taylor Hendricks is playable this year, and playable a lot, because you look up and down the roster and you got a lot of guys that are the fifth best defender in the starting lineup, and then they're starting 4 of them. So it's just an interesting spot for them to be in. Also, shout out Keontae George. He couldn't hit the side of the backboard from 3, but had a really good game otherwise, moved the ball well. I know Isaiah Collier didn't play, but you got the passing that you would have expected out of Collier from George this game, and that's good to see, because he's been an okay passer the last 2 years. And if he's hitting his shots, he's obviously going to be a good player in this NBA. And that leads me sort of to my next weird, week 1 weird, which is the rookie class being really good up and down. And you might think that I'm going to talk about Ace Bailey, but Ace Bailey only had 2 points, so we're not going to be talking about him, but we are going to be talking about the other Jazz rookie, Walter Clayton, and his NBA debut. A very, very solid 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in a win against a team that everyone expected to be good this year. So, very good sign from him. Also 2 steals. And I don't think this is unexpected. He is an older player coming out of college. He did play on some very good and very talented Florida teams. And there was definitely a sense of he's more NBA ready than some of the other players in this draft. And I have to say, 18th pick, I think at the time seemed a little bit high. I'm not surprised, really, that he went that high, but at times it seemed like he might be a later first-round pick more than a mid-first-round pick. But he might be one of those guys where you have teams late lottery that were like, we could have got Walter Clayton, but instead we took a swing on, say, I don't want to say it, but maybe one of the Nets guys. Anyways, other than, of course, Walter Clayton, VJ, obviously we have to talk about VJ. I've been a huge fan of VJ for a long time. Pretty much ever since I saw him playing in the Olympics before he was in college. And he just looked big out there, and there's no surprise that to me that he is a valuable NBA player, and not just valuable, but seemingly more valuable than anybody else in this draft right now, based on a 1-game sample size. 34 points. I was there. Watched the game. I wasn't there. I watched the game live a few years ago, whenever Chris Duarte started his NBA career with a 30-point game. And all I'm going to say is they're not too far apart where they were born. So there must be something in the water down in the Mid-Atlantic that is fueling these players to come into their NBA game strong. Unfortunately, Chris Duarte not in the NBA anymore, which I don't think can be said for VJ in a couple of years, because VJ's a lot younger. And it was a close game. I believe they won the game. Yes, they barely beat the Boston Celtics, and they definitely wouldn't have beat the Boston Celtics if it wasn't for VJ. And while I'm here, I might as well bring up another Week 1 weird. I don't even know if this would be weird anymore, but what was going on with Joel Embiid? He did not seem good at all after seeming pretty solid and a lot smaller in the preseason game that he played, and then he came in and looked not so good at all. He only played 20 minutes in a close game. You would have expected him maybe to play more. He started, didn't really do much, didn't move that well, and seemed like he might not be ready. Which might come as a surprise if you watched the preseason game where he looked really solid. And the only thing that I think is really weird about it is that he looked good in the preseason, and then he got into this, the regular season, and then kind of disappeared. But I don't think it's weird for him to be. I don't think it's weird for him to not be at full strength. Obviously, he's not at full strength most of the season at this point. He hasn't played 40 games in 3 years. So, I would be surprised. I would be pleasantly surprised if Joel Embiid played 50 to 60 games this year. But I can't see it. Anyways, back to the rookies. I got Trey Johnson, obviously coming in, he was a highly touted shooter. He did that, 4 for 8 in his first game. 2 assists, which is maybe unexpected. I don't think it should be. He's definitely got some questions about his off-ball play and whether he's going to be able to move and be an effective off-ball player as well as an on-ball player, because at Texas he wasn't really asked to do anything but score, and I really hope this doesn't turn into a pseudo Dalton Connect scenario where Trey Johnson is asked to be a shooter in the NBA rather than a scorer like he was in college. And I do think Trey is a better shooter than Dalton Connect. Off the dribble, off pull-ups, I think he's going to be a dangerous weapon, and they can use him in a bunch of different ways. He's young, obviously. He fits in with Washington. And the main thing that you need from Washington is some clarity, because they've got Trey Johnson, they've got Keyshawn George, they've got Cam Whitmore, they've got Bub Carrington, they got Sarr, they have Will Riley now, they have they picked up AJ Johnson last year, they have Bilal still, they picked up Malachi Branham this year. They have so many young guard wing type players, and they have no idea which ones are going to be on the team 3 years from now after their rookie contracts. Obviously, Trey Johnson would feel like one of the better players. High draft pick, a shooter, fits well next to Sarr, can play next to Bilal, can play next to a point guard. You can run a lot of different lineups with him. And I feel like his versatility is definitely going to help this team this year. Because he's no short shooting guard either. He is 6'6", I believe. So on to Fears, Jeremiah Fears. A bit of a strange game for him. Obviously, you might have expected a little bit more movement of the ball from him. You might have expected him to hit a three, but he didn't do either of that. He only got 2 assists and he didn't hit a three. But what he did do was score a bunch of points, and he just turned 19 in this October, so it's going to be a learning experience for him. We've seen young guards come in like Darius Garland, like Killian Hayes, for example, that they both come in at a tough first season, and then sometimes they go the way of Darius Garland, and you build on it and you get better and you have buildable skills that you can work on. And sometimes it goes the way of Killian Hayes, where the scoring just never appears and he falls out of the league. And I really hope that doesn't happen to Jeremiah Fears. He did score a boatload, which is more than I think a Killian could ever say in his rookie year, especially this early. So there is definitely buildable skills that Fears has going to the rim. What you really need is that jump shot, and even without it, he's still going to be a good player. He knows how to get the ball to the paint, and maybe the scouting report just wasn't there for him yet, and they didn't know. I believe they played who did they play? Yeah, they lost to Memphis. Maybe Memphis just didn't really have the scouting report on him yet. And next time they play him, there's going to be some help in the inside whenever he goes. And then we'll see the passing really pop, because why would you pass whenever they're not stopping you inside the arc? And on to the next guy, Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward, another guy, a bit of a higher pick, a bit of an older guy, barely played in college, almost went and played at Duke, but decided to go to the draft instead. Cedric Coward is good. He barely played, really, in the last 12 months of any actual organized basketball outside of practices. He's barely played in basically anything. And he had a very short stint in college, but it was a very good short stint in college. And Cedric Coward comes into the NBA and proves that it wasn't a fluke. He is actually that guy. And while the three-point shooting wasn't there, I think it will be. He was a good enough shooter in his college stint this year or last year that I think the shooting is going to translate. He was a good shooter the 2 years before that too, albeit his first year was on low volume. And he's going to fit right into this team. I mean, losing Desmond Bane, you're opening up potentially a future starting guard position. If you're thinking about keeping Ja and Wells and Jaren and maybe even Edey, you have an obvious opening there for Coward once KCP is either off the team or traded, perhaps, in the next year or two. They're going to have that opening for a Cedric Coward to sneak in there, and I think he just put him right on top of the pile of young-ish players they have that have proven that they have some sort of juice in the NBA and that they belong, like Jalen Wells, like Gigi, like Vince Williams, Scottie Pippen Jr. to a lesser extent. He's a little bit older now. Edie. Great pickup for the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm not surprised at all by his stat lines. But what you might be surprised by is the Charlotte Hornets. I know, not just one rookie, but several rookies on the Charlotte Hornets had great games, including Con Knippel and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Con hit his threes, and that's the thing that was semi-wondered about in preseason and to a lesser extent Summer League, because Summer League doesn't matter as much. But preseason, his shooting wasn't all the way there, and there were some questions. But in the regular season, 1 game sample size, I know, but he hit his threes, and he looked really good out there. And maybe to a more extreme, wow, he's good, is for some people, is Ryan Kalkbrenner, who you may not have heard of really that much, but he was a second round pick, great value pick for the Hornets. He was a really good defensive player in college, and he's a lot older. He is almost 24. He turns 24 in January, so there's no question that he is ahead of some of his peers physically, at least in terms of big men, and he showed it. He filled in that role. Game 1 starter for the Hornets, for a team that really had quite a good game against the Nets. Now it is the Nets, but he proved that he's going to be a solid contributor for this team, for a team that has basically no centers outside of him, unless you want Musa, who is a little bit smaller but athletically all there. And another guy that played, where is he? Sion James. Another older guy. He turns 23 very soon. Played with Cooper Flagg and Con last year, so they got 2 Duke guys. He wasn't insane. He didn't do anything incredible, but he scored and he got rebounds and he passed the ball. He only played 17 minutes in a game where they were winning. I don't think there's too much to glean from such a short stint for him. And that can be said about all these young guys that I'm talking about. But that is just some young guy NBA Week 1 weird. Next up, the Phoenix Suns had an interesting first game of the season. They played against the Sacramento Kings, kind of a battle of the 10th seed in the West. A guy I didn't mention, Nick Clifford, weird for a different reason. He played the whole first half, and I don't think he didn't play 24 minutes in the first half, but in the first half he started, and he did not take a single shot, I don't think, in the first half. Very strange, but he did the other stuff very well. In college, he was a good rebounder. Translates to the NBA. It's an effort and positioning thing, so I'm not surprised. And he moved the ball and played defense. Obviously, you want the shooting to be there, but if not, he's still a contributor in other ways right now that they need on the court with a not so talented team outside of the starters. But that's not who I'm here to talk about. I'm actually here to talk about Oso Ighodaro. Bit of a sleeper maybe pick last year, 40th overall, second round pick. I liked him coming in. I watched I remember pre-draft I saw a video of him with a coach or an analyst or something going over some plays, and he was recognizing them, and he seemed like a very smart, intelligent player. So I'm not surprised that he is at the very least playable. However, last year, if you had have asked me who were the best centers on Phoenix, I wouldn't have said Oso. I had him listed as a power forward on here last year. I probably would have went with a Nick Richards was better, and then they got Mark Williams, who I also would be confident saying was better than Oso last year. And then whenever I looked at the game, and I was like, oh, Oso is starting. I was a little bit surprised, and he was fine. It's just looking at their starting lineup, and maybe it was we don't have Jalen Green, and we want somebody that can move the ball. We want every playmaking option we have on the court, because we're missing one of our ball handlers. Because he's a better ball handler than Nick Richards or Mark Williams, despite still not being overly great at it. So I thought that was very weird looking at the roster. Obviously, Common didn't play, Malawach didn't play, Rasheer Fleming didn't play. Still a lot of unanswered questions in Phoenix despite winning that game. Obviously, they're going to have some ball handling issues. Gillespie played but wasn't incredible. So you're going to have to rely a lot on Devin Booker and, unfortunately, a lot on Jalen Green for ball handling. Grayson Allen and Dillon Brooks, both pretty good, despite Dillon Brooks not being able to shoot a ball into the ocean this game. But I feel like that's pretty typical. Every 4 to 8 games, you'll have a Dillon Brooks game where he's like that. And on to a more sad note for Week 1 Weird. We have the Pacers, who had a really good game, but you know what was weird? Watching the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. It felt very, very different. It wasn't the scoring. The scoring was still pretty much there. It wasn't the defense, because the defense obviously isn't held up by Tyrese. So what was different? It's just the feel. It's a different game. It's a different pace. I mean, I'm pretty sure Aaron Nesmith said before the season that it's Andrew's pace. And then Andrew got hurt, and he couldn't shoot at all this game, so getting absolutely nothing from Nembhard, and then getting less than that in the second half because he was hurt, and obviously foul trouble really stopped the Pacers from continuing to battle in double overtime. And that brings me to the OKC Thunder, who have played 2 games and have played 4 overtime periods. And why is this happening? Maybe it's because everyone that has played them so far has been extra motivated to beat them. Obviously, the Rockets are a conference rival and are trying to prove that they are better than the Thunder, even though it might be futile. And obviously the Pacers really wanted that win after losing in the finals after Tyrese got hurt. And I don't know if this is weird, and I'm sure the overtime periods are inflating this a little bit, but 10 extra minutes per game does not account for 11 more free throw attempts per game, 20 field goal or free throw attempts per game this season so far, 40 free throws across 2 games, up from 8.8 last year. And I'm sure this will even out a little bit, but they're definitely no stranger to helping out the MVP on the free throw line this season. A lot of calls that he got that even AJ Mitchell on his own team wasn't getting, despite being very similar plays. And AJ Mitchell, of course. They probably don't win either of those first 2 games if AJ Mitchell is not on the team. He has been really good these first 2 games. Attacking the rim, something that they're missing with J-Dub out right now, and something they'll be missing on the bench whenever, something they will have on the bench actually whenever J-Dub comes back. Now he didn't start either game, but he is finishing games right now, which might not happen with J-Dub back. And I think that's it for my week 1 weirds. Let me know if you saw anything in week 1 that you thought was strange or abnormal. And moving on. Alright, now we're back, joined by Deluxe, this time in full color.
Happy to be here.
And we're going to give our Game 1 awards. NBA season is back. First games are all done. We're going to give out some awards based on only these first games. How do you feel?
I got some good picks here. I'm happy with my list.
All right. Before we go into our award picks, I think we should briefly take note of our predictions last week are already wrong. Both
They are.
the random player to score 50 and none of us took SGA to be the first player to score 50, which I was surprised when I looked back, but no, neither of us did it.
We talked about him.
We did talk about him.
And how it wouldn't be him.
We definitely did not talk about Aaron Gordon, though.
We did not, but he fits the archetype.
Yeah,
Big
and
wing.
big forward. He shot well from 3 last year, so I'm not exactly surprised. He had a hot shooting game, but this early.
Monster.
So which award do you want to start with?
Just go top down, man.
MVP? No, let's save MVP for last. Let's go with DPOY first. Defensive Player of the Year, Game 1. Who'd you have?
Victor Wembanyama.
Victor Wembanyama. Can't
Mostly
say
because
I'm surprised.
Guys look at him and say, I can't go there.
Yeah, he does have the rim deterrence factor that whenever he's in the paint, guards will not even look in the paint, and even big forwards won't look in the paint, which makes his job easier, makes the whole team's job easier. Any sleepers for you there that you thought about?
Not too many sleepers. I thought I didn't watch the Trailblazers game, but maybe there was a Toumani Camara masterclass. But really, other than that, there's no competition for this man.
Well, that's interesting because I had a different pick.
Who did you have?
I had Mr. Walker Kessler. That was my pick. He had 4 blocks and 2 steals, and the Clippers struggled to score in any way, shape, or form, and I'm sure Walker Kessler definitely anchored that defense.
Interesting pick. He's could be a guy that makes a big impact this year on a team that is really bad.
That game he had was kind of crazy. He had 7 for 7, 2 for 2 from 3, 4 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Just an insane performance from a guy that they seemingly don't want to trade and also don't want to extend.
Yeah, he kind of seems like a bit of a no man's land kind of guy. It's like you're just gonna wait and see, but might end up shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah, I mean, if he shoots even like 35%, I was saying this. What's that worth for a guy that's 7'2" listed at and defends the rim?
You got the Miles Turner kind of vibe, so you're putting him in the same kind of category. He's a very expensive player.
All right, let's move on to Rookie of the Year. I think there's
There's only one answer.
one singular answer for this, and for me that was Mr. VJ Edgecombe.
VJ Edgecombe. I agree wholeheartedly. There's not many guys in their first official NBA action that will go out and look that confident and put forward the game that he did, let alone take as many shots that he did.
I mean, he wasn't just taking them either; he was making them. And
yeah, he's making half of them.
On a night where you have a close game and your best player seemingly isn't playing well and doesn't play the rest of the game, someone's going to take a lot of shots.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for them just to have another piece there that you can put the ball in their hands and they make stuff happen. They have a few of those guys, and Jared McCain's obviously still injured, but if Philly could somehow figure out the Embiid situation, whether he's going to play or not play, they could be a problem.
I mean, if they had another big man that wasn't Adem Bona, who isn't bad, but he's not a starter, they could be a really good team in the East this year with the lack of competition.
They look like they could be an absolute playoff team because BJ's just that integral.
Yeah, as a rookie. Let's move on quickly to the Clutch Player of the Year. Clutch Player of the Year. This one was
this is
up and down for me. I didn't know who to go with.
Yeah, it was a tough pick. I have two guys written down, and I'm not even sure who I'm going to pick yet.
I have one, and it's pretty much a cop-out. Like, of course, whenever you have a game that goes into double overtime, you're going to have the opportunity to make a lot of clutch shots. I'll just go ahead and say my pick was Shai, SGA, Gilgeous-Alexander.
And I don't fault you for that. He's one of the two guys that I have written down, and it's just he kind of started slow that game, and then he tried to step up whenever it was needed, and he ended up having a good game down the stretch. And obviously, like double overtime, there's plenty of opportunities for buckets and foul shots.
Especially foul shots, that's for sure.
Yeah. So since you took SGA, I'm going to go Anthony Edwards. Just because he had a few clutch shots down the stretch, and it was a really tight game, and he was trying to play some defense as well, so I definitely factored that in.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is going to have a lot of those, of course.
Nobody else in the team is going to take those shots,
especially whenever Julius Randle is the second best player on your team. He can make those shots, but of course, you'd rather have the ball in Edwards' hands in any clutch situation.
He's by far the most effective shot creator on that team. Like, the other guy, like Julius Randle, can create a little tiny bit, but it's not what you want either, especially down the stretch.
His mid-range shooting that game was pretty crazy. I think I saw a stat where it was like 7 for 9 or something on mid-range shots, which, like you said, is a point of emphasis for him this season. So I'm not surprised that it's hitting like it is. And just to pivot back to Shai for a second. First 2 games, do you know how many free throws he's averaging?
20.
It's exactly 20. He's got 40 free throws across 2 games, but he has played an extra 20 minutes of basketball, basically, than he normally would have.
Still, it doesn't equate.
It is kind of crazy.
And I mean, he has the ball in his hands a ton, and you're like right now, J-Dub being out, definitely a lot more pressure on him to be
no Caruso, no Case and Wallace. They all handle the ball.
At the same time, like, he's not the only guy in that position. Like, he's doing something different, and he's getting different results.
His pump fakes are where a lot of his fouls come from. Let's move on to Coach of the Year. This is a hard one to gauge off of one game, just because how much is different and how much better a team is hard to gauge on a 1-game sample size versus just raw stats and output. So, what are you thinking on it?
I kind of have a lame reason for my pick, uh, and it's one specific reason. I went with Nick Nurse, and
Philadelphia.
purely because the man let BJ Edgecombe take 26 shots
That's true.
and didn't just do something different with the offense or direct them otherwise just because the guy's a rookie.
Yeah,
He put him in a
and
position and he let him succeed. And as a rookie, like it's rare to get that, especially in your first game.
a lot of coaches will look at a rookie and say, you can start, but I don't know if I want you finishing a game. And
Yeah.
Nick Nurse was full on VJ. I trust you. Get out there and do your thing, which he did extremely well.
And hopefully he continues to do that so that VJ can really show what he's got.
I went a different way. I went with a team that outperformed expectations right out the gate. I already picked somebody on this team. I went with Will Hardy, Utah Jazz coach.
Oh, okay.
They blew out the Clippers, who I feel like everyone kind of expected to be a top 5 seed in the East, and they didn't look like it. And the Jazz of all teams were the ones to clean up an easy win against the Clippers this early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back from the Clippers' perspective, like I know it's game 1 of the season, but I mean, every game's going to matter at some point, especially in the West. So they're going to probably be kicking themselves that they lost the early season game to the Jazz.
And I mean, you never know. The Jazz could end up being like where we thought the Trailblazers would be this year, or they could end up being the 10th seed and surprising somebody.
I think making the play-in probably isn't like out of the question for them if they put it together.
It definitely seemed like it, but after this game, I don't know. They could.
Walker Kessler's going to Walker Kessler, and I mean, Lowry has a resurgence back to All-Star form. They have some players.
And I think certain deficiencies in Lowry's game the last couple of years were because they weren't trying to be good, and they didn't want him to necessarily be a 22, 24 point per game scorer. So he didn't. It's hard to play good basketball when you're a great basketball player, and that's what Lowry was forced to do these last 2 years. So I would expect a bounce back.
Yeah, I agree.
6th man of the year. So basically, best bench player of game 1. Any picks?
I actually had a pretty easy pick. Jeremy Grant.
He was great. He was great in that
29
game.
points on good efficiency. Came off the bench, was a good spark. So I don't think anybody else in the first game had quite the scoring output that he did off the bench. So he's got to be the guy for today.
Yeah. And you know what? I had a different pick, but I forgot about the Jeremy Grant game, so I'm going Jeremy Grant as well.
Guy.
I forgot because earlier in the offseason, they asked him if he expects to start, and he was like, of course I expect to start, or something like that. And then he's on the bench. So maybe he's trying to prove something, but it was a weird, like, oh yeah, Jeremy Grant still has it type of game for the Trailblazers.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that old.
It's like 31, 32.
He's making a lot of money.
He is making all the money. He's got like 3 more years left.
They kind of got burdened into that contract.
It works. They got Dame, right? They signed Jeremy Grant to keep Dame, and he's there.
Yeah, they got him back.
My old pick was I was originally thinking AJ Mitchell because he was so good in the second game. In the first game, he was still good. He was like 16, 6, and 6 in 18 minutes. They don't win that game without him. But I omitted him because his second game was so much better. So I didn't want to. I was
watching the Pacers last night, and the announcers kept talking about AJ Mitchell, who was not on my radar. And I was watching him. I was like, OKC really got it all.
Yeah, a second round
It's
pick I
not
think
even
last
fair.
year.
You got
Played a
AJ
little
Mitchell,
bit.
who's probably making no money, and he's going to be a guy that's going to come off the bench and score 15 any given night.
They have Kaysen Wallace, Topic, AJ Mitchell. I think all drafted last 2 years. Well, I guess 2 years
Topic
before this
hasn't
one.
played yet.
Topic hasn't played, and they're all capable ball handlers. Topic, did you hear what happened to Topic?
I know he had surgery. I don't know beyond anything beyond that.
I don't know if this is exactly what he had, but I heard it was testicular torsion, basically.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
horrible.
I actually did hear this.
Horrible.
I did hear this.
Um,
That is debatable.
but I don't know how long a recovery for that is, for like an NBA player, because like me personally, you get it stapled to the wall and you're good, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they got the best doctors, so I'm sure that he's going to be back as fast as possible. But it's a bit of an interesting injury in terms of being an NBA player and the mobility and everything that you have to get back to. So it might be something where he tries it out and it's a no-go for a little bit, just until he gets comfortable with it again.
Do you think he hits a big shot and he does the big ball celebration, but one of them doesn't move and the other one is swinging? Hits a big shot.
Well, I hope he plays into it, because that's the type of thing that people make fun of you for no reason.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to most improved player. This is a weird one because it's like one game. So are you just looking at who had the biggest jump from their stats last season to their one game this season? Which is what I did. I just took a guy that jumped up a lot in stat and said, good enough.
Okay, let's hear your pick then. It might influence where I go with mine, because I have 3 guys written down.
I went with Aaron Gordon.
He's on my list.
Obviously, he jumped up, like, according to this, like 36 points or something, 34 points.
Yeah.
Which would be ridiculous, but he just had such a good game. I was like, I gotta give it to him. I wasn't gonna give him MVP, so I gave him MIP.
Yeah. So Aaron Gordon would be like my entertainment level answer.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go Ben Mathurin, just because he had a different look to him, different feel to him. He seemed like a guy that he knew what he was doing a lot more last night.
He knew what he had to do.
Yeah, like he was facilitating, he was driving to the basket, and Indiana just loves drive and kick, and he actually seemed to be bought into that.
Definitely the driving part.
Yeah, and he was getting fouled like crazy.
He does
like,
get
if he's
fouled.
Gonna shoot 15 foul shots a game, like he will win MIP with a question.
That game started at 8:30, I think, and ended at like 12. It was like a 3.5 hour game, double overtime. I think 80 foul shots or something like that. 85 foul shots. It was
disgusting.
Quite an experience watching Benedict Mathurin and yell at Lou Dort the whole game, telling him, "You can't guard me."
That was quite entertaining.
I'd love to see him keep up the aggressiveness, but the shooting of that game was more important to me, I think, than the going to the line, because he's done that a lot, but the shooting has been up and down. All right, Executive of the Year, the penultimate award given out today. What are your thoughts?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, but OKC is just disgusting, and that's thanks to a man named Sam.
They are
Mr.
incredibly well run.
They are gifted, and they're going to be able to continue to do this for many years to come.
Yeah, I can definitely see the case for him winning it a lot. But I went a bit of a different direction. I went with the executive of the Orlando Magic. His name is Anthony Parker, I believe. I went with the Magic because the Bane trade, on paper, like the value they gave out versus the value they received, seems a little bit lopsided. But because of the specific needs of Orlando, Desmond Bane is probably worth that because he's just such a good shooter, gives them ball handling, and he's a capable defender. So he fits right in, basically doing all the stuff that they wanted KCP to do last year, but 5 times better.
Yeah, no, I don't knock it. Obviously, giving up those picks and everything is something you can look back on in a few years and say if things don't go well that it was a mistake. But those are the type of trades that you see teams do all the time whenever they're trying to go for it. And I think in terms of opportunities to go for it this year with the East being so weak, you gotta make your move today.
Absolutely.
Not wait for something like that. And
And,
whenever Bane's on the market,
go
not very
ahead.
often not very often a shooter like Bane is just like
Mhm.
easily accessible.
And from what I remember, it didn't seem like he was easily accessible, and the Magic were just lucky enough to capitalize on the Grizzlies being willing to give him up when they were. Because I feel like if there were other teams knew just how available Bane was, they might have gotten a few more calls about it.
Yeah, like you have to think that it's kind of like a Luka situation where if the auction was open for bidding, it might go a little bit differently.
Absolutely. And I know I don't think it should count for last year, but I'm pretty sure last year was the year they gave the renegotiation and extension to John Isaac, which basically just spent some extra money that year to give him a longer, a way smaller deal than he probably would have taken, which is fine, even though Jonathan Isaac has been up and down, and mostly down right now, it seems. But defensively, whenever he's there, he's a center / power forward for them that they occasionally need when Wendell isn't playing well.
Yeah, for sure. Just circling back to the Sam Presti thing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me on the way that OKC is set up is like they have their core. They're going to have guys like say like an AJ Mitchell or some of the other young guys like Casey Wallace, where they're probably going to lose them at some point because of salary complications. But they have picks and they have other young guys that they're just going to pull into those positions and rotate them in and out. And the core can stay the same. They can just feed in young guys around them as long as they continue to pick those young guys. And it's just a unique position to where oftentimes teams fall apart because of salary, but OKC has the mechanisms to replace them immediately.
Yeah, and not only do they have these picks, but they are also casually the best drafters in the league basically right now.
Like they're hitting on every one of them.
Which is why those picks are more valuable in their hands than say I was gonna say the Hornets, but they had a good draft, so I don't want to rag on them right now. But let's say the Bulls aren't a very good drafter right now. I'd rather have 3 draft picks in the hands of the Thunder than 8 draft picks in the hands of the Bulls. They're that 100%. Much better. They're that much better at drafting. I guess on to the final award, MVP of Game 1. Who do you have?
This is actually a tough one because there was a few big games. But I'm going to go for the person that entertained me and looked to be the most unstoppable, Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, okay. MVP and Defensive Player of the Year for you.
Yeah. I mean, just watching him move around on the court is like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, it's different.
Cool.
It's just pretty cool.
He glides. He doesn't walk.
He does. Yeah, he just kind of floats around. But it's still surprising, even though this is year 3 for Wemby. It's still surprising to when all of a sudden he just dunks the ball.
Yeah,
he's moving toward the rim, and all of a sudden he's just elevated and dunking it.
That one reverse he had, where he had his right foot in the paint, Anthony Davis on his hip, and then he jumps to the other side with the reverse. And gets fouled.
What do you do with it?
the hesitation cross into Anthony Davis, shooting over him, getting fouled, and the shot goes straight down anyways. Like, he moved.
He was crazy efficient. He was like 71% from the field, like taking the shots that he was taking, which a lot of them were dunks, but he still had a lot of like nice step throughs and kind of pull up jumpers and stuff with people right there, but he doesn't see them.
And those the turnovers that were in preseason that I was talking about didn't appear in the regular season so far. Though neither did the assists.
He didn't pass the ball.
Yeah, he didn't pass too much.
Attempting to pass the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, that he can learn to pick his spots.
Yeah, of course. And whenever you're 7'5" now listed, sometimes it's easier to just score than it is to move the ball.
Put ball in.
Whenever you said unstoppable and entertaining, I thought you were going a different route, which is who I went with, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I thought about it.
Equally,
I think about him a lot.
hard to spell name as Wembanyama, but I got it. I think it looks right.
I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the little screen there. But yeah, I went with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I don't hate it.
Obviously, they were playing, I believe, the Wizards, which is not exactly stiff competition, but they played hard, and Chris Middleton went some vintage, I'm going to do my Jordan impression mode.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter, because Giannis was unstoppable. Only 7 free throw attempts.
The team around Giannis is, I think, a little deceptive. Kevin Porter Jr. only played like 9 minutes because he got shoved by somebody and rolled his ankle. And he had 10 points in 9 minutes. Gary Trent Jr. was hitting shots. If they can shoot threes the way that they did in the first game for the most of the season, like, they'll still be a playoff team. Like, not a play-in team, a playoff team with how weak the East is. And if Giannis is playing 70 games.
And for me, this is basically Jokic. Whenever he won his, I think his one of his MVPs, where his team wasn't good, but he was still really good, and they ended up the 4th or 5th seed.
I think he actually won it as a 6th seed.
6th seed then.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that happening for the Bucks. If certain things don't go their way, I mean, they had a lot of players overperform and underperform this game, so it's really hard to tell who's actually going to be solid contributors for this game. And I have to point out, this is the most typical Miles Turner game I've ever seen. He had his, like, just looking at the raw stats, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. You're like, this guy's crazy. And then you see he shot 2 for 8 from 3 and 4 for 12 from the field, and you're like, this guy's crazy. But that's just the Miles Turner experience. And to me, like, year to year, Miles will do pretty similar stuff to Brook, but game to game, you'll really notice a difference between Miles Turner and Brook in their consistency of putting the ball in the basket and rebounding.
Yeah, I think the Bucks are set up in a way that if they're good, it's a Giannis MVP year, and if they're bad, nobody's mad at them because they're not built traditionally to be successful.
And this was a vintage Jason Kidd coached game because Giannis played 27 minutes and he had 37, 14, and 5. So point per minute.
Yeah, he did that for like 3 years.
He's definitely up there. And I guess that's all our MVP or all our picks for Game 1 awards. Any honorable mentions that you didn't get to say?
Honorable mention.
Because I don't have any.
Mataz Buzelis, just because he had a pretty solid game, but I think he's probably a realistic most improved player.
It's hard whenever you're a year 2 player to win it, but he might just have the chops for it.
Yeah, I don't know what he averaged last year. Did he average like 9 or something like that points per game?
I don't know. Might have been 11.
It's
Let
like
me
7.
check.
I think he was single digits. But I think he could honestly be a guy that's
8.6. Yep, 9.
yeah, I knew he was single digits. So he could easily be a guy that averages 23 just because the Bulls are focusing on him averaging 23.
I mean,
And they probably should.
he could average 20 for sure. Just the way that he plays attacking the basket. So, yeah, I think that could be a realistic actual MIP, especially whenever the Bulls might actually be a little bit better this year. I don't know. It's hard because they're always 36 wins, but, you know.
Yeah, that's all they're looking for. They just don't want to lose too many. They wouldn't want to get a good draft pick.
They wouldn't want a good draft pick, no.
They probably wouldn't hit on it anyways.
No, they would draft Cam Boozer's brother by accident if they had a high draft pick. They'd be taking Caden. He's like, what? We got the wrong C Boozer. They would draft Carlos, honestly.
Give him back.
He was here before, right? Give me his spray-on hair. All right, thank you for listening to this episode of the Shoot Podcast. We will be back next week, probably with another video just like this one. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you like, subscribe, and please watch basketball.